I told you about this, and this is exactly why His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales was requesting this from these two. That's right, we're talking of course about Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice.
Several months ago, Prince William made a private request, not a command, not an ultimatum, a request made quietly, away from cameras, away from press, away from the machinery of royal public relations. He asked Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie to come to him directly, to sit down, to tell him in their own words everything they knew, everyone they had met, every trip, every party, every connection that might now look complicated in the light of everything that had emerged around their father. He wanted the full picture before anyone else got it first. They did not take him up on it. And now the thing William feared most has arrived. An investigation has been opened into Princess Eugenie's charity. The figures are troubling, the questions being asked are serious, and William, who saw this coming, who tried to get ahead of it, who was told everything was fine, is furious. This is how we got here. The past, what William already knew. To understand the weight of this moment, you have to go back. The files that emerged around Jeffrey Epstein did not just implicate individuals. They sent shockwaves through the networks connected to those individuals. The people who attended the parties, who took the flights, who appeared in photographs at events that, at the time, seemed entirely unremarkable. For the royal family, the most direct damage landed on the Duke of York. That story is well documented and ongoing, but the ripple effect extended further, to his daughters, to their associations, to the question of what they knew and when and with whom. William's response to all of this was, characteristically, methodical.
Now, as you know, Prince William has gone through quite a lot recently, and none more so all thanks to his uncle, the former royal known as the Duke of York, the disgraced Prince Andrew.
He wanted information, not rumor, not what was circulating in the press. He wanted Beatrice and Eugenie to come to him privately, to walk him through their own experiences, their own recollections, their own sense of whether there was anything else that might surface. It was not an accusation, it was due diligence, the kind of quiet, careful information gathering that allows problems to be managed before they become crises. They chose a different approach. Rather than a private conversation with the Prince of Wales, what followed was a very public moment, photographed in Mayfair, visibly distressed, the image carefully constructed to communicate a family going through something difficult. It was the kind of move that daughters of their mother would understand instinctively. Get the image out, control the narrative, let the world see the human side before the harder questions arrive. William saw it differently. Everything that could have been handled behind closed doors had just been taken firmly into the public arena, and in doing so, the opportunity for a quiet, managed resolution had closed. The present, what the investigation reveals. Which brings us to now. Princess Eugenie's charitable foundation is under scrutiny, and the figures that have emerged make for uncomfortable reading. Expenditure in the region of $119,000. Returns of approximately $48,000. That gap, the difference between what went out and what came in, between what was spent in the name of the cause and what actually reached the cause, is the number that investigators are now focused on. It is worth being precise here. An investigation is not a conviction. Questions being asked are not the same as wrongdoing being established, and it would be entirely unfair to suggest that Princess Eugenie personally has done anything improper. But here is the reality of charitable governance. When you put your name on something, when your association, your title, your public profile is the thing that opens doors and draws attention and brings people into a room, you carry a responsibility for what happens in that room. Whether the people running the operation are doing so competently, whether the money is being managed appropriately, whether the cause is being served, that responsibility does not disappear simply because someone else was handling the administrative detail. And this is exactly the conversation William was trying to have privately months ago.
What's interesting with William, and particularly Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, is he wanted them, from their own free will, to come forward and to discuss, where did they go? Who did they meet? Who did they see? Was there anything else that they should have a look out for?
Not because he assumed the worst, but because he understood, better than most, that in the world they inhabit, association is everything. That a single story, a single set of troubling figures, a single investigation opened without warning, can do damage that takes years to undo. He wanted to know what he was walking into. He was not told. There is another dimension to this that cannot be ignored. Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, the mother of Beatrice and Eugenie, and a woman who has spent decades demonstrating a remarkably consistent ability to find herself in financially complicated situations, has, in the current climate, gone noticeably quiet. That quietness is itself a signal. Over the years, the debts associated with Fergie have been significant. The precise current picture is unclear, but what is not unclear is that financial pressure for this particular family is not a new problem. It is a recurring one. Prince Andrew, now effectively confined to Royal Lodge at Sandringham, is not a man with liquid assets. The properties, the lifestyle, the ongoing costs of a former senior royal who has been stripped of public duties but not of his appetites, all of that requires money. And money, as William's advisors are acutely aware, has a way of becoming someone else's problem. The fear, and this is a genuine, specific fear being communicated by those close to William, is not just about the charity investigation. It is about what else might be out there, what other financial entanglement, what other arrangement, what other moment of poor judgment might surface next. Because when the news cycle turns in this direction, it has a habit of not stopping at the first store. It finds.
Of course, they decided to go down very much the publicity route, as I mentioned previously. Turning up in Mayfair, having a snapper there, crying into each other's arms. I'm sure they were upset, but all of that could have been done behind closed private doors. But of course, daughters of Fergie know exactly how this works.
There is a historical reference point that people close to William invoke when this subject comes up. Prince Philip, a man who understood, with unusual clarity, the mechanics of royal reputation management, had a very specific approach to the complications introduced by Sarah Ferguson over the years. He recognized that every time Fergie appeared at a family event, at Christmas, at a public occasion, the story shifted. The focus moved. The institution he had spent his life protecting became secondary to the chaos that followed in her wake. His response was simple. He removed the variable. William learned from that example, and he has applied the same logic to the current situation, which is why Beatrice and Eugenie are notably absent from Trooping the Colour, from royal ascot, from the formal calendar of royal appearances that signal proximity to the throne. This is not rejection, it is containment. The problem is that containment only works when the contained party cooperates, or at minimum does not actively create new problems while being contained. A charity investigation does not cooperate, it simply arrives. And what William reportedly keeps coming back to in conversations with those around him and reportedly in discussions with the king himself is a version of the same frustrated question. What else is out there that we don't know about yet? The investigation into the charity will reach some kind of conclusion. There will be findings. There may be a quiet restructuring, a change in governance, a politely worded statement about lessons learned and improvements made. The machinery of these things tends to move slowly and land softly. But the damage to the relationship between William and his two cousins is harder to calculate. There was a window, a moment when a private conversation could have happened, when information could have been shared, SKS assessed, and a strategy built around whatever emerged. That window is closed now. And William, who is systematic, who plans carefully, who does not forgive easily the people who make his job harder, will not forget that the warning was given, or that it was not heeded. There is a pattern in the story that is worth sitting with. Time after time, in this particular family, the choice is made to manage appearances rather than address substance, to get the image out rather than have the difficult conversation, to hope that the story stays manageable rather than doing the work to make sure it does. And time after time, the thing that was never addressed quietly becomes the thing that cannot be avoided loudly.
But this is truly the negative fear from William. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because as I told you a few months back, if the girls had have just gone to him and said, well, we're going to resign from this, or we're not going to do any more of that, so there's no more embarrassment, but it's now got to this point. And this is exactly what he truly feared.
William tried to offer a different path. Whether Beatrice and Eugenie can find their way back from where things now stand, whether the investigation concludes in a way that limits the damage, whether the relationship with William recovers, remains to be seen. What is clear is that the moment for the easy version of this story has passed. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you make of all this. Like the video if it gave you the full picture. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of how this develops. Take care. See you soon.